And here we go. And this is Karen with newclevelandradio.net. And it is time for What in the World with Paul Seaburn, the guy that makes all these weird things. He's got a white beard, but he's not Santa Claus. No, he's not. And we have his sidekick, John Donalo. Here we are.
Hi,
I'm
everybody.
sorry, Ken. I can't sit and be quiet. That's my problem.
I know. It's okay.
I'm
That's
just
okay,
waiting,
too. Yeah,
waiting for that for Karen to finish the intro so I can say something like, "Hey, everybody, welcome to What in the World, everybody's favorite weird news show. Real news, sometimes strange, always funny. That's our motto." Thanks so much to everyone for joining us on the podcast this week. If you're live, God bless you. I thank God you're alive. If you're listening to us in the future, that's also a good sign because that means we survived a few more days, hopefully. We're on all kind of podcast platforms. We're on YouTube. Please watch us on YouTube. You'll notice that we refer to some photos every once in a while. We have some good photos today, by the way, some photos of Bigfoot. I'll mention that way up front so everybody can get ready for that. So it's always fun to see those. I'll try and describe them for you. Let's see. So I am the head writer and editor at mysteriousuniverse.org, everybody's favorite paranormal in-depth news website. And you can always go there and find some of the stories I talk about. One of them in particular I'm going to be talking about today. But on What in the World, we try to look at just the weird news, the fun news. We try to have a good time. We don't get too deep into the paranormal, cryptozoology, ufology, and all that stuff that I talk about on Mysterious Universe. Here we're just here to have fun with Karen Hale, the media mogul at newclevelandradio.net. I want to make sure everybody goes to newclevelandradio.net. You'll find out where to download this podcast, a link to YouTube, and all the other great podcasts that Karen has on the platform. All kind of good stuff for you to listen to. And also, we've got John Donalo, my old friend with What in the World of Sports. So, hi, John. How are you this week?
I'm doing well, Paul and Karen. Outside in beautiful North Royalton, Ohio.
That's in Northeast Ohio. For those of you that aren't up on your geography, which is where we're located. Where all three of us are in Northeast Ohio. We're connected via Zoom. I had a conversation. Yeah, I had a conversation with someone who was new to the podcast the other day, and I was talking about back in the old days when we were at Joe Max Donuts. If anybody still remembers those days, Joe Max, by the way, is still open, still has great coffee and donuts. So by all means, please patronize our old friends over there. So let's get right to it with what do we have going on this week? With Karen, we're going to do a callback. We don't do this too often. But and for everybody out there in podcast world, if you listen to last week's show, we're going to be doing a callback to something from last week. So I want you to look forward to. Yeah, really. We're cutting edge here, Karen.
We are.
I want to say hello to some of our longtime podcast fans and people who discovered the fact that we have, Karen we were just talking about this before the show. On YouTube, we have over 140 shows listed on YouTube, going back, how many, for 3 or 4 years that we've been posting on YouTube.
We're in our 5th year.
We're in our 5th year of the podcast. Yep. That's right.
Yes.
So I want to do a shout out to my old buddy, Mark, in Austin, Texas. He mentioned that he and his wife binge watched the show on YouTube. So there's something you can do when it's raining or snowing or you just don't want to go out. Binge watch What in the World.
You got it.
So anyways, let's get right to it. Let's see, what do we got going on here this week? We've got Bigfoot, as I mentioned. Oh, Bigfoot's favorite sport, John. We're going to be talking about some sightings of Bigfoot at sporting events.
Oh, okay.
For our friends in Texas, in Austin, and Houston, our regular listeners, some sexy ghosts in Texas, fitting for I've got a couple of stories for Halloween. we are what, 6 days away from Halloween, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll be too late for Halloween next week. So we got to get them in this week. Strange time travelers in England. It's an interesting story. Another Loch Ness monster sighting. I have a photo, John, so you can check it out.
Okay, looking forward to that.
A little bit of real estate information. If you are a vampire listening to the show, I have the best and worst places to live if in the United States if you're a vampire. So you'll want to tune in for that. And if you don't want to live next door to a vampire, you should also tune in. You'll find out where not to live. Some bad news for Santa Claus, but hopefully we'll have enough time to get to that. If not, I'll give you a brief update. More odd news and trivia. We got strange sports. It's strange. Is that a word? Strange.
I don't think so.
Sport. I think strange would be there's a word for when you smash two words together. I think it's drunk. No, it's it's anyways, we've got strange sports with John. He's got a great sport for us this week. And of course, we play everybody's favorite Weird News game, Bluff the co-host. So we've got trivia. That's our sign for trivia. We've got Bigfoot. Oh, yeah.
He sounds good today.
He's
Sounds
in a
good today,
mood.
right?
Yeah, that's
Wow,
right.
okay.
He always gets excited when he gets his face plastered on What in the World. So let's get right to it with some sports. Now, not John's sports, but a couple of odd things. Pickleball is taking over the world. We've talked about this before. Way back when, before it was so accepted, it was one of our weird sports. Now everybody plays it, including LeBron James. Did you know this, John? LeBron James is apparently a huge pickleball fan and player.
Never had a clue of that until you just said that. Really? I didn't. Wow.
There's more. He is now the co-owner of a pickleball team in the new, let me get the word, the Major League Pickleball League. Professional league.
A major league?
Yeah. Major League Pickleball. Now, for a little local flavor here for Northeast Ohio, one of his partners on this project is Kevin Love, who is one of the top players on the Cleveland Cavaliers, and Draymond Green. Or is that the way you pronounce it? Draymond,
right? Yes.
Yeah.
Draymond.
He plays for the Warriors.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the three of them have pooled their massive billions together, and they bought a pickleball team. Can you imagine LeBron James playing pickleball? He's already what? He's almost 7 feet tall. He hits 3-point shots. He could be hitting pickleball shots from like 2 courts over. That's the kind of range. Remember when Wilt Chamberlain first started playing, they invented they had to widen the lane, and they had to put the 3-second rule in because he would just stand in front of the net. They're going to have to do something like that with LeBron James. He's just he'll just
he would be too much of a force. He would be too much of a force to be reckoned with for his size.
Oh,
you don't see people that size playing pickleball. At least I don't. But
exactly. So I thought that was wild. I just saw that on the news today, and it's a great segue into our next story, which is pickleball is killing ping pong. Ping pong when we were kids, ping pong was the pickleball of the day. Most people had a basement in their house, and what did you do in the basement? Your mom did the laundry, and you put up a ping pong table. And that's where all the kids came over, and you hung out and you played ping pong, or you had a pool table, one or the other. So it's killing off. Yeah, it's killing off ping pong. There's not many people playing ping pong, which is why Google is getting involved with ping pong. They've built a ping pong playing robot. I don't think it has a name, but they've trained it using artificial intelligence to play ping pong. And I know I don't have a picture of it. It's just a big robotic arm. But it's good. It's really good. Good. If you Google it, you can see the video of it. The reason why it was in the news this week is because it set a personal record for the arm. It did a volley of 4 minutes in length 340 times without missing with a human player, a good human player. Yeah, 340 times. I can't hit it 340 times before it finally hit the ball into the net. So obviously the robotics people that are trying to sell it, they're impressed with this. I say, if you really want to impress me with a robotic ping pong player, it has to play by the rules that we used to play by in the basement. And that means the ceiling is just, like 2 inches above your head. The table is up against the wall because that's all the room you have. And you got to hold a beer or if you're or some sort of soft drink in one hand while you're playing. If it can do that and hit it 340 times over 4 minutes, I'll be impressed.
Me too.
So take that, Google robotic arm. Speaking of sports, there we go. There's another segue into. Oh, I wanted to mention something about ping pong because I looked it up. I want to see if there's any good trivia about ping pong. It originated. I think we talked about this once. It originated in the 1860s. It was created by British soldiers who were stationed in India, and they were bored and they had nothing to do and they didn't want to play cricket or whatever the Indians were playing. So what they did. Get ready for this, John. This is very creative. They invented this sport themselves. Now they couldn't play tennis. They didn't have a tennis court. So they put a board on top of a table, and then they took rows of books out of the library because God forbid you would want to read these books. They built the net across a wall of books, and they used, instead of paddles, they didn't have paddles. They used lighter books as the paddles.
Oh.
So a paddle net and paddles and books made out of a book net and a book paddles made out of books, and the ball. this is scary. The ball was a golf ball. So
wow, that could hurt.
Yeah. Oh, easily, Karen.
Yeah.
It could hurt. Yeah. It could hurt you. It could hurt the wall, the window behind you. The ceiling.
It's a lot more dense than a ping pong ball, obviously.
Oh, yeah. No kidding. Yeah, it's scary to think about that. And big macho military guys. I'm sure they got into it. So speaking of sports and Bigfoot, was I speaking of Bigfoot? Well, I am now. So John, what do you think Bigfoot's favorite sport is? If you had to guess. What is Bigfoot's favorite sport?
Well, I have to think that he would be in a place where there would not be a lot of people. So like at a packed football game, I don't think that would work, or a packed baseball game. How about a baseball game where there's not that many fans? How about baseball?
Okay, all right. John's guess is baseball. Karen says no. Karen, what do you think?
It's got to be soccer or kickball.
Soccer, because he has a big foot to play.
Yeah.
Football,
yeah.
My question is, and we're talking about Bigfoot as a spectator. As a player, I think Bigfoot would be a great football player, except where are you going to find a helmet to fit over that giant head?
Or the rest of the other equipment as well. You can't find
the other equipment. That's right. Shoulder pads, the shoes. Basketball, same thing. Where are you going to find? Nike, of course, would want to sponsor size 84 Bigfoot shoes. I was thinking golf. Bigfoot might want to play golf, because who's going to argue with Bigfoot when Bigfoot wants a mulligan? 20 feet away, I'll make that. Are you going to argue with him?
I don't think so.
So you were both wrong.
You're assuming Bigfoot isn't a friendly guy.
No, interesting. Maybe, yeah. You might be right. Yeah,
okay.
But Bigfoot could be friendly. I will accept that. I'll accept that. The Bigfoot could be friendly. Now, the particular Bigfoot that we're talking about here is very friendly. He's friends with an NFL football player, and I want to take. But I'm not necessarily saying that that's Bigfoot's sport. So here we have a photo of Bigfoot at a hockey game.
That's Chewbacca.
Yes, Bigfoot is with the guy in the knit hat is Minnesota Vikings running back Dalvin Cook, who apparently is friends with Bigfoot. And he took Bigfoot, he had 2 tickets, front row seat, to a hockey game. Is that right? The Minnesota, are the Timberwolves hockey or are they?
Basketball,
yes.
NBA
Oh, it's
basketball.
basketball. Okay.
NBA
I'm
basketball.
sorry.
Right.
Erase all that part. We'll edit that out. So Bigfoot, they're at a Minnesota Timberwolves NBA game, and courtside seats. They watched the Timberwolves beat the Oklahoma City Thunder 115-108. So there you go. Bigfoot is a fan of basketball.
Wait a minute. That's a photo bomb. There's no way that he's
That's
sitting
what?
there behind Dalvin Cook. No way.
That's Bigfoot.
Well,
Are you saying
I
that
think
he's-
Obviously, wait a minute. I want to say that he's a Bigfoot, but I think there's a person inside the suit or the costume or whatever.
Oh, I'm shocked, John. I'm shocked that you would say that.
And the guy on the other side of him looks a little scared.
He does, yeah. I know.
Yeah,
I think Bigfoot's been reaching into his popcorn box and eating
possibly.
his
Yeah.
Yeah, or
And
whatever.
probably if he's thirsty, he's probably taking his beer.
Taking his
Yeah.
beer. That's right. And I think Bigfoot doesn't look happy. And my guess is
he
that-
doesn't look happy there.
No,
Right.
he came to see the Timberwolves and he's upset because there's no werewolves on the Timberwolves team. So who he would be cheering for. So a couple of more Bigfoot stories. I know John's upset about this fake Bigfoot. So we'll get to some real Bigfoots here. This is I have some clips, some photos of a video which was taken in where was it taken? It was taken 9 years ago, October 24th. So that's the reason why it was in the news. And it was called the best footage ever of Bigfoot. It was in the South. I think it was in Mississippi because he thought it might have been a skunk ape. So while I mention that, let me put the picture up over here. So the guy's name is Josh Highcliffe. Oh, he was hunting hogs in a swamp near Tunica, Mississippi, around 6 p.m. So nice bright daylight in October 24th. He came across Bigfoot. Now, John, can you see Bigfoot in that photo?
I can make him out, I guess, behind a couple of looks like really thin trees or branches.
There you go. Yeah. Karen, you can see Bigfoot there too, right?
If you say so, I'm not going to disagree.
Oh, for those of you that can't see it, there's something dark in the middle of all these like trees. It could be hairy, could be a bear, could be something. Let's take a look at one of the other photos that they supplied us with here. Oh, much better photo there.
Yeah, right. Uh-huh.
For those who can't see it, it looks exactly like the previous one.
Except smaller.
However, yeah, see, some of the figures gotten smaller, Karen, right?
It must be moving away, or maybe the cameraman was afraid and was moving away. Interesting thing about this particular Bigfoot is that the guy said he was hog hunting when he saw it, which means that Bigfoot was in hog territory, which you normally don't hear about, Bigfoot chasing hogs. Which, Karen, by the way, this means what? Bigfoot's not Jewish.
That's right. He's not. Yeah.
Not kosher by any stretch of the
Right.
I mean, if Bigfoot were Jewish, how could Bigfoot get a little yarmulke on that giant head of his?
Oh, you can make a bigger one for him.
Oh, you can? Oh, I thought
yeah.
they were all.
Yeah.
Oh,
No.
okay. All right.
Nope.
Well, how about this? What if he were of the Hasidic persuasion and he had to wear that big hat?
Oh, that would be interesting.
Yeah, I have a picture of him. I have a picture of a Hasidic Bigfoot wearing one of those hats. Here he is right here.
Oh, my. Yep. This thing.
No, that's actually, we got ahead of ourselves here. That's actually Cousin It.
Oh, that's what I meant.
Cousin
Yeah.
It. Yeah.
Yep.
But if you think about it, Cousin It did look quite a bit like a Bigfoot. So
a smaller version, kind of.
yeah. My apologies to all of our Hasidic fans out there. Okay, so I moving into some other Bigfoot photos here. Now this one's more recent. This is from Kentucky, from Lake Cumberland. A lady was out with her children and walking the dog around Lake Cumberland when the dog smelled something and they chased after the dog to see what it smelled. They ran up to a spot in the sand along the lake, and they found a Bigfoot footprint. So
Wow.
here's one photo of the Bigfoot footprint and two little kids comparing their feet to the size of this large footprint. Now, John, do you see any toes in that photo other than the little kids?
Obviously, I see the small boy in his small foot, but again,
I know.
I have to say,
here's a better one for you. Here's a better one for you. Now that one looks a little closer
Yeah.
to might be a Bigfoot. Oh, Karen's skeptical on that one, huh?
Yeah, I am.
Well, and of course, everyone knows that I'm skeptical of Bigfoot anyway, but I always wanted to know why there's just like one solitary or
Footprint.
maybe 2 or 3 photos of a foot. There's not like, if he was like on a beach, you would see like a series of 20 footprints. How can you see like a couple like that?
I think, okay, one theory, John, is that Bigfoot can fly. So this is the last foot that
no.
You know, it's the same thing about how there's some people that believe the fact that he emits some kind of
aura. Oh, the aura.
Aura.
Right.
He has an aura about him so that you can't
Aura,
take a photo. I'm not buying it. Sorry.
Sorry. Well, okay. I understand completely, John. The part I'm not buying is Bigfoot on a beach. Because you normally don't see. I mean, would if you were Bigfoot and covered with fur, would you really go to the beach to hang out?
No, you're okay. I stand corrected on that point, but there are other areas where you have sand that is not a beach. I mean, it could be part of an outdoor landscape, okay, where you have sand and dirt and all that. How come we can't get several? I'm throwing it out there. I mean, how come we cannot get several footprints in a row? We just don't see that.
I continue to look for them, John, because I know that will convince you. That will move you a little further towards the side of the meter that says believe in Bigfoot. John is firmly
I'm not saying
planted
that
in
it
the
was never
skeptical
believe in
side.
him, Paul. I was saying never believe in him.
Wait, do you believe in Chewbacca? What about Chewbacca? Chewbacca over on Star Wars.
Chewbacca's a very likable, very lovable movie character, right?
I could see Chewbacca on the beach, him and Princess Leia in her little bikini that she had to wear for Jabba the Hutt.
Really?
In fact, I could see that being made in.
This is getting a little X-rated, guys.
Oh no! We're PG.
That's right. That's right. This is
barely
we're not going there. That's right. Okay.
Okay.
In fact,
right,
I would do a
fair
spin-off. If I were George Lucas, I would have done a spin-off of that particular scene. I'd have Bigfoot in it. I'd have Princess Leia in a bikini. I'd call it Beach Baka Bingo. Beach Baka Bingo.
Yes.
There we go. Sure.
All right. So let's move on.
Let's
move on to my favorite monster and another one that has very questionable photos at times, and that would be the Loch Ness Monster. This has been a bad year for Loch Ness Monster sightings. We're here in almost November, and we've just had our 6th of the year. Now, there's been a couple of years that we've talked about they're going up to like 18 or 19. So let's take I'm going to put up a photo of the latest Loch Ness Monster sighting. While let me give you some details on this. This was
please do. Yeah.
This was taken by a mother and daughter, and she described it as a black lump about 200 yards off the bank of Lake Loch Ness. It was boxy in shape and bobbed in and out of the water twice over a 30-second period while they were watching it. So that's what convinced them that they were obviously looking at the Loch Ness Monster. I know it's a good thing that they put a red circle on it. Otherwise,
I appreciate that. Yes.
Yeah, I do too. It's
it obviously is much further ahead than the Bigfoot photo.
Well, this qualified. This qualified for the official official Loch Ness Monster sighting website. So they accepted it. It can't be explained as anything else, so they've taken it. I think that the bobbing lump, I like that description. I think it'd be a good name for a band. We're opening bobbing lumps are opening for I don't know, the Animals.
Oh my.
All right, so we'll move on. I'll take this one down here. We'll move on to UFOs. I've got some UFO stories here before we get to Halloween. So this one comes from North Staffordshire, England. James Ford, and I don't have a photo. He had a video on his website of a UFO flying outside his window, and it looked like a bright light. Okay, so but he claimed that he was communicated telepathically with the aliens that were piloting this particular UFO. One in particular, the pilot, whose name was Abu, and Abu must not have liked him because he abducted him and took James into the ship where there were a total of 3 extraterrestrials, all 8 feet tall, took him into the cockpit. Yeah. Before they returned him back to his bed, and he woke up and he said now he believes in aliens because all that happened. We don't get too many stories about 8 foot tall alien. Normally they're like 4 feet tall.
Yeah.
And I've decided that I would trust an 8 foot alien more than I would trust the little 4 foot tall ones. Simply because an 8 foot alien can't hide from me. You know, unless they have a cloaking device or something. It's gonna be easy to kind of track them and see where they're going. But the other reason I like the idea of an 8 foot alien is because think about it. I have an 8 foot alien, ship lands, these 8 foot aliens come out. Most people would be scared running away. I wouldn't. Here's what I would do. I would say, look up on my roof over there. There's a spaceship up there. Could you grab it up there? And that 8 foot alien would reach right up and grab the Frisbee that's been up on my roof for 6 months. They oh yeah, I know these guys.
He would help you out there, Paul, with that. He would be helping you out. Yeah.
Well, you're up there cleaning the gutters out too. Yeah.
Sure.
Aliens could start a business in Brecksville, Ohio here. So I would welcome any 8 foot tall aliens into my neighborhood. I don't believe that an alien calls himself Abu. To me, that's not an alien name. Most
really.
aliens. No, they have names that have no vowels in them, GZXWKLB.
But if they've been around for a while, like some claim, they may have taken on more of a civilized name.
Oh, good point.
Yeah, that stands to reason. Yeah, that makes sense.
Like on My Favorite Martian, he used to call himself Uncle Martin.
Yep.
I know that wasn't his name. I'm dating myself there, boy. Far beyond what I would like to date myself as there. But anyways, okay, but quick Halloween story here. A couple of them, actually. I want to watch the time here. This one comes from Texas. So this is for our podcast listeners down in Texas, from Gainesville, Texas. Gainesville is in the far north of Texas on the Oklahoma border, right up against the Panhandle. So there's a lady in Gainesville, Linda Hill is her name. Linda owns a rental property. And she says she couldn't understand why people were moving out of her apartment. Then she found out they were scared because they were hearing the voices of what she called a sexual ghost who talks dirty while they were there. So she's lost 10 tenants as a result of this. So she decides to go and stay in one of these apartments herself to see if she can encounter one of these ghosts. And sure enough, and I want to make sure I get the quote correctly here. Sure enough, she's taking a shower and she sees a shadow on the other side of the shower curtain. And she hears a voice, and the voice says, oh baby, yeah, I like it like that. So she said, oh, it must be my husband, watching me through the. I thought it was maybe her husband taking a shower, but so that's what she thought it was. It was her husband. She opens it up and her husband's not there. So that's how she knew that she has some dirty talking ghost haunting her apartment building. So she thinks that the facility may have once been a brothel, because she heard another ghost saying, oh, I can't do that. It'll be $50 more. So that's a sure sign that it was a brothel.
I would say it's a sure sign.
So speaking of
from what I've heard, John. Oh, I'm sorry.
Speaking of brothels, the house that we used to live in Peninsula
Oh yeah, right.
was a
South of us.
brothel.
No kidding.
Yep.
Wow.
Just thought I would share that.
Was it
Yep.
was it well known? Did everybody know it was a brothel?
Yeah. So once when I moved in with Rich, one of the neighbors came over and knocked on the door to introduce herself. And
Hey,
she
is
said,
Honey there?
Yeah.
Honey.
Yeah. She said, do you know the history of your house? Do you know why you have so many doors leading into it? And I said, no. And then she told us, and then she told me to go check out the library, which I did. So, yeah.
Wow.
So you checked out the library. So then did you find out, did you consider opening it as a brothel? You know, you could be the
I did, but it's illegal.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah.
Even in Peninsula.
Even in Peninsula.
You couldn't be grandfathered in if it was once a brothel. You couldn't still be a brothel,
No.
maybe.
No,
Grandmother.
that
I
was
guess
in,
it would be grandmother.
yeah, that
Oh
was
yeah, I
very,
think you would be a great madam, Karen. Oh, you would be killer as a madam at a oh my God. We need to find a place that's where it's legal. We need to put you in Las Vegas. That would be perfect job for you.
oh, well.
Your husband might
sure.
like it too.
Oh, he would love it. Okay, move on. Move on.
moving on. Okay, well, I got a time travel story for you from England. You know, we were talking, this was just from last week. This is not our callback, but we're talking about photos and paintings of people in the past that look like they were talking on cell phones. And I got another one. This is a pandemic of photos like these. Let's take a look at it right here. Oh, that's not it. That's the Loch Ness Monster. So here we go. So this is a beach in Cornwall, England. This is from my friend Simon. That's where he grew up, Cornwall, England. I don't know if he's been to this beach, but this photo was taken in 1943. And if you look in the middle of the photo, amongst all of these people on the beach, there's a man in a suit. And it appears that he is looking down at a cell phone and looking through his messages or looking through his email. That would you agree with that, Karen and John?
Oh, he's looking at something. Yeah.
Looking at something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the people are saying he's obviously holding a cell phone. What else would he be doing on a beach looking down like that? My question is, who wears a suit to the beach?
Well, there's another guy there sitting with like a derby on his head.
Well, I know. The more you look at this photo, they are fairly well clothed. This is
they are really
the opposite of a nude beach. I mean, this is a.
Hey, wait a minute. Let me get a time check on this again, Paul. This is 1943.
1943, right before the war. Yeah, maybe they were getting ready to evacuate or something. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, during the war, obviously. Yeah.
Or perhaps this is spring break and they were all students at a seminary.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Let's go to the beach.
A divinity school. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. There you are.
So, anyways, no, I don't know what he's looking at. He might be looking at a book or who knows, a pack of cigarettes. It's really hard to tell from that distance. But you know, people will believe what they will believe. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Very true.
The how are we doing here on time here? I want to get to a Halloween story here for us. I think I've got a picture I wanted to show John here. So if you know, horses don't get to choose the type of shoes that they wear. They're pretty much limited to horseshoes. Would you agree with that?
Yepper.
I would agree too. Yes.
Okay. Well, that has changed over the past couple of weeks. And so if you have a horse that doesn't particularly like wearing horseshoes, he or she now has a new option. And that option is tennis shoes for horses.
Oh my.
This is a photo of a horse wearing two pair. We only have the front end of the horse, but on each of his front feet are hoofs are tennis shoes with the Nike swoosh on them.
I can see the swoosh. Yes.
Yeah. These are made by a company by the name of Horse Kicks, and they have permission to use the Nike symbol These are replicas, obviously, of Air Jordans. They also make Yeezys, which apparently is another brand of shoes. New Balance. They have New Balance shoes for horses.
Wow.
They they tell horse owners that they meet the ergonometric needs of horse hooves, whatever that might be, and they sell for $1,200 a pair, which
Oh,
means
no.
you're gonna pay $2,400, right, for 4 shoes. You know, you got to really love your horse to
Well,
buy.
it's the horse that has everything. I mean, there it
The
is.
horse that has everything. Yeah, what do I buy for my horse? He has everything. Well, wait a minute. We've got some shoes here for you. What I would like to do is I'd like to take these shoes to some of my friends who pitch horseshoes and say, hey, I got some new shoes for you guys to try.
That would be an
that'd a whole different
expensive
game with
game.
Those shoes, Paul and Karen.
Oh,
That'd be a whole different game.
man, I think that would drive a few people crazy. So so it's the Halloween season, and Halloween is October 31st. That's not 6 days from today.
Next Monday.
John, are you wearing the same costume you always wear?
You know, yes, I guess it's the
Well, it's pretty scary as you are, John.
Well, yes, of course. But here's one thing. Here's a quick note or quick aside. So where we live, where we reside here, there's not a lot of people that come for trick or treat, even though there are, you know, and so we've had years where we've had no children come actually.
Oh yeah.
Because we're on a cul-de-sac, so there's really not a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
A couple years, you know, we've been here now 20 years, and there's been a couple years where we've had, you know, actually because there's a number of young families, okay, on our street as well, right? But beyond that fact, we get very, very limited traffic. So
I remember a couple years ago, I came to visit you the day after Halloween. And I remember John was sitting in his chair, candy wrappers everywhere. Must have been 100 candy wrappers. And John's, oh, we didn't have any kids last night. It's so terrible. Here, have a candy bar. Have 10.
Yeah, somehow Annette has been able to curtail my purchases of the candy the week before, because I'm always saying, well, you know what? We may get a few more than we did last year.
Oh, yeah.
Somehow she doesn't buy that. So
more than 5. We need the 100.
I don't blame her.
150, yeah, just in case. Well, we do. We in our neighborhood have a lot of young families, so every year the number goes up and up and up. So we've got quite a bit of candy, and I'm sure we'll give most of it away. So this is a Halloween story here for you. This is a news story. A study was done by a lawn care company of all people to get people to come to their website and read it. So, you know, of course, I'm one of those people. This is about vampires, and they studied the best and worst cities in the United States for vampires to live. So I'll throw this one out to everybody out there in podcast land, and I'll ask John and Karen for their suggestions. John, where would you think vampires would like to live, and where would they hate to live? United States.
I think that vampires would probably want to live where there's less sun, obviously. So I would think less sun would be somewhere in the northern state.
There you go.
Or Alaska, maybe a lot. But in that, of course, Alaska has that period of time where there's a lot of sun. So I don't know if that applies. But I would say that vampires should not be in the southern states, I don't think.
Okay. Oh, good. Well, good. Karen, how about you? Good. Very logical.
You know, I've been watching a lot of Svengoolie lately, and I think they
we need
live...
to explain who Svengoolie is. Is it? You know,
it's on TV. Everybody should know.
I guess. Okay.
But anyways, I think they live up near the Northern Lights somewhere.
Oh, okay. Northern parts of the United States, even Alaska. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Both very good suggestion. I would have said New Orleans simply because of the tradition of New Orleans to being a home of vampires. You guys are closer than I am, so you know, let's find out who was on the top and who was on the bottom of the list. One of the things that vampires are afraid of, besides sunlight, before I get to sunlight, is garlic. And I thought, well, the least popular place for vampires to live would be the place where there's the most garlic. And the most garlic is in Gilroy, California, which is the garlic capital, not just of the United States, but of the world. More garlic comes from Gilroy, California than any other city in the world. Not on the list. I thought it might be. So sunlight was a good suggestion. Believe it or not, traditionally, before a certain time, vampires were okay with sunlight. Back in the 1700s and 1600s, when the vampire tales first began to appear in public, vampires walked amongst humans unnoticed and during the daytime. The story of vampires being afraid of the light came from the movie Nosferatu, which is one of the first, I think, vampire movie. And if you've ever seen it, very scary movie, very scary vampire. And he always ran away from windows where there were sunbeams. So that's where that came from. Dark Shadows. You remember the show Dark Shadows?
Sure.
Where Barnabas Collins always stayed in the shadows. He never went out into the sunlight. Same thing. So John and Karen both, you said, well, places with a lot of sunshine would be a bad place to for vampires to live. Turns out Jacksonville, Florida is one of the more popular places for vampires. Very sunny, would you say, John? You know, you just came back from Florida, right?
Sure, of course. So
why would Jacksonville, Florida, of all places, be on the list of places vampires like? It is the most popular place for blood centers in the United States. So it has more blood centers than
really? Well,
take out
blood.
Take out blood. That's right. That's
sure.
right. So it's now that's not the top one. I'm just saying other cities that with a lot of blood centers, Fort Worth, Pittsburgh, Orlando, and Chicago. Places with the least number of blood centers, Philadelphia, Baltimore, and Washington, D.C., which amazes me, you know, with all the blood-sucking politicians in Washington, D.C.
Oh, that was a good one.
I just about that last statement, Paul. Those are all big metro areas.
They are. Yeah, they are.
So
it's kind of surprising.
That's
blood centers.
It's not what you anticipate, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Now the darker cities that you were mentioning, cities with the least amount of sunlight. Believe it or not, number one is Pittsburgh. And I was surprised by this. I'm not sure how it made it, but it doesn't have smog anymore. I can remember when Pittsburgh was a very polluted, smoggy city. But apparently Pittsburgh, I don't know if it gets more cloud cover or what, one of the darker cities. So that's up at the top of the list. Most of the others were in Washington and Oregon. So you were right about that. And Anchorage was number 2, Anchorage, Alaska,
right?
Because of those long nights in the winter. So summer, I don't know where the vampire goes in the summertime. Washington, Tacoma, Washington, Bellevue, and Seattle. Those are three.
Okay. Washington State.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Now, where do vampires sleep? Anybody?
In coffins.
There you go. That's right. So they prefer to sleep in a coffin. So which means that they would prefer to be in a city where there was a wide variety of coffin makers or casket makers. So where do you think in the United States, the city with the most coffin makers and casket makers? Wild guess.
Indiana.
John?
I'm going to say Indiana also, because I think Indiana, isn't that the state that it's Batesville Casket Company? There's an actual company that manufactures caskets, and it's like the largest
casket. You know more about this than I thought you did. Here, if she's watching, our good friend Linda down in Houston I'm sure is typing away. Houston is the number one city for coffins in the United States.
Oh, okay.
In a number of reasons. It is the home of the National Funeral Museum, National Museum of Funeral History, which I have been to. It's also the headquarters for a number of funeral home conglomerates, that bought up all the private funeral homes around the country. So yeah, and it's the fourth largest city in the United States. So there's a lot of people there. There's a lot of people dying there. That turns out that's the number one reason why there's a lot of coffins in any city. At the top of the list, Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, and San Antonio. So that's in the top, or 4 of the top 5 cities in the United States. San Antonio is number 7.
Okay.
Least caskets, Boise, Idaho, Springfield, Massachusetts, Orange, California. Now, vampires come up from graves. Vampires come up from graves, so they would like to be lower in the ground than sea level. So they also studied what cities and states have the most basements. Now, the most basements in the United States, number 1, Overland Park, Kansas. Don't ask me why. Number 1. Also, Olathe, another Kansas city, Grand Rapids, Michigan, Paterson, New Jersey, Rochester, New York. Most basements in homes. You would think New Orleans would be at the bottom of the list because of it being below sea level. It turns out at the bottom, Fortuna, California, Killeen, Texas, way up in the northwest, North Las Vegas, well, I don't know why, Hialeah, Florida, which is not on the coast, John, right? It's inwards from Miami.
It's in
vampires. So vampires roam around at night. They would probably like a city with a lot of nightlife, if you're not out drinking blood. So cities with a lot of nightlife, now top of the list, the city that never sleeps, New York, followed by Chicago, Sin City, Las Vegas, and San Francisco. So a lot of, if you're looking for nightlife and vampires, that's where you go. The most boring cities in the United States where vampires wouldn't be caught dead or alive. Fontana, California, Marina Valley, California, Mesquite, Texas, I've been there, and Palmdale and Salinas, California. Why those cities are boring, I'm not sure. So
on the Kansas thing about the basements. Well, they're in Tornado Alley.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. There you go.
I mean, that would be the reason, right? You would think. Yeah.
And there you go. You've earned your pay for this week. Perfect. Perfect reason.
Well, good.
Excuse me, there's no money in the account to pay this week.
Oh no.
That's okay. That's all right.
So a couple of more facts. New Orleans is number 15 on the list and moving up. So a lot of vampires are moving to New Orleans. You would think that there'd be a law against vampirism in the United States. Turns out there are no laws. Like there's laws against brothels, as Karen pointed out, but not against vampires. Only one state in the union has a law against cannibalism, believe it or not, which is what drinking blood would be considered. And that state, I'm not even going to ask you to guess, you'll never get it, Idaho. Idaho has a law against cannibalism. So, number 1 best city for vampires to live in the United States, New York City. New York City finished at or near the top of all of those categories. So maybe it needs to be called the Big Adam's apple, not the Big Apple.
Ooh, good one.
Yeah, right?
Wow. An interesting twist.
Vampires to the city, right? Yeah. Chicago was number 2, the second city again. Philadelphia, of all places, Los Angeles and San Francisco. At the bottom, the worst place for vampires to live was a Surprise. Surprise, Arizona. Actual name of the city, Surprise, Arizona. Also at the bottom, Arizona cities, Peoria, Glendale, and Chandler, and Las Vegas. So you guys were right. Vampires don't like to live in hot climates. Don't like to live in places where there's a lot of sun.
Sure.
So, if you're a vampire, location, go to New York City,
That's
right?
right. Follow the real estate motto there. Right.
That's right. And if you're afraid of vampires, buy a home in Surprise, Arizona. If nothing else, your friends will be thrilled to see you get they get your Christmas card every year, and up there in your return address is your address at Surprise, Arizona. So anyways, I thought that was
it's kind of interesting, actually.
It was very interesting.
Yeah, that was very informative, Paul. Very good.
So there you go. All right. So speaking of informative, we never we're never ceased to be amazed by the information we get in our next segment, What in the World of Sports with John Donalo. Every week I challenge John to come up with a strange sport, one that we've never heard of before, possibly one we could participate in, or one we could be like LeBron James and buy a team in in the Cleveland or the Northeast Ohio area. And John always has a great sport. So this is our callback time, Karen, and everybody out there, as I promised, that we'll be calling back. So John, why don't you tell us what our sport is for the week?
All right, sounds good, Paul. Karen, here we go. So if any of you were fortunate enough to watch or listen to our show last week, you will recall that our sport was pea shooting.
Shooting, right? Yeah. Good sport.
Interesting sport. Well, staying in the same vein, our sport this week is pea throwing. Pea throwing, yes. Now, wait, let me continue.
Okay, tell us what kind of peas we're throwing.
Well,
if you're lung challenged or you don't have a shooter, you can still participate in it, but you got to pee.
Okay.
I'm sure our audience is out there saying,
fill us in, John.
No, I think our audience is asking themselves, why in the world would people participate in such a weird sport? Well,
yes, why?
Well, wow. I'll tell you, Karen, and the rest of the audience, the answer is that some people have too much time on their hands. and the other piece is they live in England.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, wait a second. Linda and Simon are watching this. I mean, we got to be careful what we say.
Trust me, Simon will like this sport. Yeah, he's probably played it.
I'm just, again, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just reporting the news. I'm not making it. So anyway, the World Pea Throwing Championship is held in each October and takes place in a location called Mount Place, Lewes, England, at the Lewes Arms pub there.
And we have a photo of the front door of the Lewes Arms.
That's the front. Yeah, that is the pub there. So at this pub, dozens of revelers launch a pea nearly 90 feet down the road.
90 feet.
90 feet down the road. Now there's a sad note to this, though. There's a sad note to this. Okay, so the genesis of the annual sport is the Sasha Roberts Scholarship Fund, which was established in the memory of a regular customer at the pub. She was unfortunately killed in a car accident in 2006. But in the last championship,
in his honor.
Wow. Yeah, so it's in honor of this lady, unfortunately, who was killed in this car accident. But
once a year they get together and throw peas.
Right. So, but for the record,
collect money, obviously. Right.
Well, sure, but in the last championship, Dean Simpson from Chichester, he reached a respectable 63 feet with the very first throw of the day.
Wow.
And an excited Simpson said, he was quoted to say, "I was first to throw, so I was briefly the world champion, although it did not last long, but it was nice while it lasted."
Well, that's true. 90 feet. That's the distance to a pitcher's mound, right?
Yes. Well,
so that's quite a distance.
That's a long, sure. But the champion, the winner is Graham Butterworth, a 33-year-old man from Portsmouth. And at the end of the competition, he was the victor, lifting the golden hand-holding a pea trophy. At the end of the afternoon, he tossed the tiny vegetable an incredible 87 feet.
Wow. I have a photo of the trophy. We'll get to it in a second here. But here's,
Wow.
I'm not sure. I don't think this is him. This guy doesn't look like he's 37.
No, he's an older. Oh, he's an older chap, obviously.
Yeah, but it appears they're using the standard baseball throwing form with a much smaller
That's a perfect
object.
segue, Paul, to the point here. So, in sharing the secrets of his success, that's not him. Butterworth said, just saying, if you've got to make sure that you pick a pea that has few indents, because that affects the aerodynamic qualities, which makes
Oh
perfect
my
sense.
gosh.
No, wait. This person says, I spent a very long time going through the peas and then choosing the one that I was going to use. And he also made the comment, you need a fast throwing arm. In other words, you have to throw fast. He goes, as a result, the people who play cricket, they would be very good at it as well.
Oh, good point. Good point. This lady, you'll get. I know you're going to get to the. Why don't you give us her name?
Oh yeah. So
It's coming up. Yeah.
Here it is. So Leland Carlson, and believe it or not, she's the author of a book that's titled, get this, Dull Men of Great Britain, which is a book that celebrates eccentric and mundane pastimes of the country, describe the sport this way. She says, I say it is an event for men who find pea shooting too exciting. Well, think of that. I mean, if you think of it.
Dull Men of Great Britain. That's a series of books, right? That's not just a.
Oh, I don't know if it's a series or not, Paul and Karen. I don't know, but it would.
I know. My apologies to our friend down in Texas. That's right,
Sure.
and in England, by the way.
So anyway,
okay. So this is the owner of the landlady of the pub.
Yes, I'm sorry. Her name is Abby Mauer, and she kept up the tradition started by her predecessor. And what the predecessor did, we don't have that person's name. He provided the peas for the competition, but that person also oversaw that they were thawed to perfect consistency for throwing. I mean, look, if you look at these, look at how similar they
how
are.
perfect they are.
There's no flaws. They're flawless peas, so to speak.
Flawless peas.
Flawless. So she also added, this is Abby. She says, we owe a lot to the pea spotters because they have pea spotters that line the designated route that the peas are going to be thrown through. And she said it's really difficult because the peas end up in trees or they land and they roll. I mean, these folks take this very serious. This is serious.
Obviously.
I mean, obviously you do this. Now, and also, here's what she said. She summed up why the British seem to have so many of these eccentric sports.
Oh, good point.
And this is directly from her. This is a quote. I think it was just an idea that came from people chatting at the bar. And rather than just talking about it, after having a few, we decided to do it.
Wow.
Sure. Yeah. There's the trophy.
There's the trophy.
Way, Karen. You can take a look at that.
Well,
yeah.
I have to let you know that Simon has responded. I asked him if he was a pea thrower, and he says he's been to lose or whatever you call it, but to the best of his knowledge, he has not thrown peas. However, that was in the 70s, and he left it at that. So maybe he has thrown peas.
Sure.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I doubt that if he was at that pub, I doubt that he'd remember if he was throwing peas or not.
but wait, folks. We have a closure here for us. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So look out. Bird's Eye and Green Giant, Nike could soon be joining you in the frozen food section, selling frozen peas with this slogan: "Just throw it."
Oh,
there you go. Oh man,
very good.
I can see that. Big bag of peas with the swoosh on it, and just throw it.
Never say never.
Never say never. Then it is obviously a sport that we could compete in, pea throwing.
Yes, we can give all three of us
Absolutely.
compete in
Yep.
that. Yeah. Which,
Easily.
as we all know, as we go through these sports every week, there's a lot of stuff we can't do. We can do this one though. Oh.
Well,
Yeah.
this is but another great sport, John, and definitely a follow-up to the pea shooting of last week. I think
Thanks, Paul.
those two sports went together great. And as always, I searched through my memory and my photo files of memories, and I didn't think that I had participated in pea throwing, but it turns out that both John and I, back in our college days, were avid pea throwers. And I don't know if you remember those days, John. It was
it's kind of fuzzy, if you ask me.
I think there was a bit of beer drinking involved back then. But I looked for photos of us throwing the peas. I could not find photos of us throwing the peas, but I did find photos of us after the event. And here's a picture of John after one of our collegiate pea throwing competition. There's John right there. And you can't really see John, but you can see his wrist and a bag of
I was just
peas.
now, you know what? Now it comes back to me how much that hurt actually. So I needed the pea to help me there. Yeah.
Let me tell you, to show you, Karen and everybody out there, how much John and I got into this. Here's a picture of me. I actually had the frozen peas on my knee. How did I throw out my knee throwing peas, John? I don't know.
It just kind of came with the territory. You're throwing peas, and the pea then becomes the remedy, right? I mean, it just kind of like falls right in place there.
Good looking leg there too.
Nice looking leg. That's right. Good, nice looking shoes. Pretty modern shoes for the 1970s.
Yeah, we were ahead of our time. That was from the research group that knew us. The research group provided that for us.
By the way, yeah, that's right. For our friends down in Texas, those peas, I can see the brand name. That's HEB, which was a major grocery store chain in the South, particularly in Texas. I used to shop at HEB all the time. So it could conceivably be me. Who knows? Anyways, thank you so much, John, for pea throwing, our sport of the week. Another great one that we could certainly participate in. So, all right, we've reached the end of What in the World of Sports. That means it's time for Bluff the co-host, everybody's favorite. There we go. Weird news game. My horn ran away from me. It picked up legs and disappeared. So every week, during Bluff the co-host, I have 3 stories similar to the ones that we've been telling all afternoon. One big difference. Some of them are true. Some may be bluff. They could all be bluff. They could all be true. It's up to John, Karen, and those of you playing at home to decide what they are. Wagering is involved, so place your bet. John and Karen, put your hands on the buzzer. Let's get right to story number 1 of Bluff the co-host. It's getting so hard to break Guinness World Records these days that some people are resorting to combining multiple records into one. Take this man in Thailand. He is a very good rope skipper. He can also ride a unicycle, and he's a top-notch juggler. So he decided to combine the 3 of them into one sport he calls jumping uni-juggling. By attaching his rear to the unicycle seat, he can ride and jump up and down. Since he could already juggle and ride, adding the juggling jumping was easy. He then lengthened the jump rope and had 2 friends swing it while he juggled and jumped up and down on the unicycle. Since he invented the sport, he now owns the record for the most juggling unicycle rope skips in 1 minute with 85. All right, so the man who set a world record that he invented himself for jumping uni-juggling 85 times in 1 minute. What do you say, Karen and John? Real or bluff? We'll start with you, Karen.
I used to watch Ed Sullivan when I was a little kid, and the unicycle guys would, juggle. And I've also seen unicycles jump. So I'm going to say this is real.
Wow. Okay. So Karen calls back onto her days watching Ed Sullivan to decide it's real. How about you, John?
Yeah, I agree with Karen on this, and for a different reason though, because this is so preposterous for somebody to do something like this. Okay, at the same time, that I'm going to say that it's real. I mean, it's preposterous. Why do people do anything? But I don't know. I just find this to be just very strange. But I'm going to say it's real. I'm going to say it's
okay.
Not.
So preposterous that it's real. Both John and Karen say that it's real. Everybody out there, make your guess. Here we come. We check with the judges, and the judges say, "Boy, if you said that was real, we just bluffed you." Those that is not a sport, not a world record by any stretch.
I should have stayed with my gut instinct then, thinking it was preposterous. It couldn't be done. But
how do you attach your butt to a unicycle? That's what I want to know.
Hey, anything's possible.
Come on. Okay.
Bigfoot's out there. Anything's possible.
Anything's possible. All right. So John and Karen, a score. Let's see, 0-0. Let's get right to story number 2, so you can get some points on the board. It's always tough to start a new business, but a therapeutic massage center in New York may have come up with a way to get noticed and help the environment too. The new center is advertising a campaign called Massage in a Bottle. The therapists are putting 50% off coupons into discarded plastic bottles around the Long Island area. They're asking people to pick up any discarded bottles they find, check them for the coupons, throw away the losers, and bring the winners in for a discount massage. There's a happy ending, not the kind you're thinking of, but business is booming and there are less bottles on the street. Just don't call the business Willy Wonka and the Massage Parlor. Okay, so Massage in a Bottle, the massage therapist that put coupons into discarded bottles so people will pick them up, throw them away, and also get a free, not free, but 50% off massage. What do you say, John? Real or bluff?
You know, it's so strange. I want to say it's real.
There we go. They're sticking with that logic. Okay.
Kind of with that logic, kind of in that path there. Yeah.
All right. Okay. We'll go with that. John says it's real. Karen, how about you?
I'm confused now, but I was confused when we started the show. So it's a good way of advertising. So real.
All right. So Karen says it's a good way of advertising. It's real. John says it's absurd enough. It must be real. Let's check with the judges. And the judges say, are you kidding? Massage in a bottle? There's no such thing. That's another bluff.
Oh, boy, we're really.
It could be a thing.
Really?
Could be a thing, but not a thing. There's a fine line, Karen, that you've learned on Bluff the co-host. Fine line.
Yeah, I've learned.
Okay.
Oh boy.
I know. I'm not going to
redeem ourselves here, Karen. Come on now.
I know.
Let me just point out, excuse me, that the score is 0-0, and I'm so excited. I need a drink of water. Okay. Excuse me, everybody out there. Let's get right to story number 3 so John and Karen can come up with some point. Oh boy. Let's cover your microphones there, or your speakers. Let's see. Story number 3. There is a 24-hour webcam on Loch Ness, so anyone in the world can stay home and watch for the Loch Ness Monster. Well, others are now getting into the act. MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, which is the top place for recording UFO sightings, says it is becoming swamped with reports from people who are spotting UFOs on Google Earth, in Google Earth photographs. Most of them are blurry UFOs over houses, but some are images of what looks like flying saucers on the ground. Others are pictures of what could be extraterrestrials walking around in cars, sitting on porches. Like the Loch Ness Monster logging service, MUFON is now considering a separate category for reporting UFOs you didn't see yourself, but saw on Google Earth. Okay, Karen and John, real or bluff? MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, is accepting photos of UFOs from Google Earth. Real or bluff, Karen?
I said I was confused. I'm even more confused.
That's my goal.
Oh, what the heck? Real.
Real. Oh, what the heck? Real. All right. Karen says that's a real story. John, how about you? Let's see what John has here.
Well, I'm going to say it's a bluff. because I see a pattern here. The first two were bluffs, right? And I know they're not connected by any means, but I'm thinking that they are. So I'm going to say it's a bluff.
Ooh, interesting. Okay, so John can't figure it out, so he's gonna pick on the guy who writes all this stuff.
It's true.
It's true. So let's see. So Karen says it's a bluff, and John, wait, Karen says it's real. John
I
says
said
it's
real.
bluff, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see who gets the points here. We'll check at the judges. The judges say, "Congratulations, John. That is a bluff." Sorry, Karen.
Oh, sorry, Karen.
Puzzled, confused for the rest of the week, I guess.
Wow. I'm going to call Annette because I need some training.
She's done wonders for me, Karen. So, I think that she should try to, do what she can. Give her a ring and she'll try to help you out.
Okay.
This sounds like a business here, a side gig for your wife, John, coaching listeners of What in the World on the co-host.
No, it's not. Let's put it this way: it's not a side hustle because there's no money in it. That's for sure.
You don't know how much people might want to pay.
Yeah. Well, she's helped me obviously, and I think she can help you, Karen, as well.
Okay, I appreciate that.
You'll be back next week. You'll be doing good next week anyway. So
well, we definitely need help. We've run far too long here, so let's get right to the end of the show. I want to thank Karen and John. Karen Hale, the media mogul at newclevelandradio.net. Thank you for everything you do for What in the World and for New Cleveland Radio. Please go there, check out all of the great podcasts that Karen has, including go to YouTube and see, check out some of our past episodes. We got 140 of them. You could binge watch all weekend on What in the World.
Absolutely.
Something I think John might do if he's not watching the Browns this weekend. I don't know.
Well, I'm going to the game.
Oh wow! We're all envious.
On Halloween night, I'll be down there. I'll be dressed in who knows. I'll tell you this: I will not be dressed in Bengal gear. Take that.
Okay. Oh,
appreciate that.
Anything else beyond no Bengal gear. No Bengal gear.
Well, thanks again, John, for What in the World of Sports and for being a great co-host and trivia buff there. So we're looking forward to hopefully you'll bring us a winner next week. Thank you to all of you listening, either live or in the future on the podcast, especially to my good friends down in Texas. Thank you for putting up with us this year. I hope that everybody had as much fun as we had today. Everybody have a happy Halloween next Monday, and we will see you again on Tuesday.
Absolutely. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.